And my name is Lydia, and Vuji, Omar, Milos, and I will host the meeting today. We also have a number of pupils supporting the call this morning. So during these Sunday calls, as you know, we have the opportunity to talk about the universal teachings and to talk about the path that all of us as pupils are following, and how we understand these teachings based on the fundamental principles of our schools and the Gnostic philosophy. So right now we are in the middle of the exploration session, and each session provides a lot of background information to better understand and really to familiarize ourselves with these teachings. So we'll touch on some of the main concepts of karma and reincarnation today. And we will really use the most of the time for the open discussion. We will record the presentation portion only, or let's say, you know, while the hosts are presenting. So first maybe 15, let's say 20 minutes. And we will make that available on our website. But we will not do that for the Q&A session. And we want this discussion to be open, where you're all welcome to participate and share your comments or experiences. So the second portion will not be streamlined or posted online. So the best way how you can connect with us in this second part of the meeting is to raise your hand. You can also raise your virtual hand if you have a question, or alternatively, you can also use chat. With a large number of participants, sometimes it's difficult to go through the chat. And so we may try to combine the similar questions together, but we will do our best to try to answer all the questions. So as I mentioned, and you probably already saw, the topic for today's exploration is karma and reincarnation. So we will explore this during our today's meeting. And we will talk about the new image of the human being and the fact that personality is a part of a greater system, the system that we call a microcosm. And to kick off, I would like to maybe start with the phrase, you reap what you sow. And if you read the text on our website, you saw this phrase. It's listed towards the end of the text, but I would like to start with this because this is, you probably all heard about it, and it's a well-known expression, but its principle is also biblical. And this saying has spread beyond the religion and morality, and today it's really used in many different contexts, not only religious and political, but also in a pop culture and in everyday speech, really. And what it means is that everything that is happening to us today is a result of things which we have done in the past. And therefore, for many people, the word karma, which is part of our topic today, is used sort of interchangeably with this concept of reaping what you sow. And it's understandable, given that these two principles, they do sound like exactly the same thing. But it basically says that the future consequences are inevitably shaped by our present actions. And in the present, we know that we have many different choices. Life is full of choices, but what our task is to really stop and think about our choices and what the consequences of those choices will be in our lives. So we'll talk about how our everyday experiences really are crucial for the spiritual growth. And we will explore how we can all take and partake, in this spiritual journey through the process of really inner discovery and inner transformation. And to start the dialogue, we'll first need to explore how the self-knowledge and really how knowing ourselves is a starting point on this spiritual journey. And Wuji will start us off with a couple of words around that. Wuji.
Thank you, Lydia. Welcome everyone once more. It is important for us to clarify from the universal teachings what is mortal and what is immortal. What we know as the human being, if you have a chance to put up the slides, Lydia.
Yep.
What we know as a human being today has several components. The human being has a physical body, an etheric body, an astral body, and a mental faculty. These aspects are mortal, and yet this human being is part of a multi-layered system we call the microcosm, a small cosmos. And this microcosm is immortal and belongs to a greater chain of what is sometimes called the rivers of God, Ashkara, and so on. And so it's our task as a human being to be able to reconnect with this greater chain of life through the center point of that universal being, that microcosm. And that center point is, of course, the rose of the heart, which you see in this image. And that center point opens the view of a new world. And this view of this new world, of these new possibilities, it is our task to be able to walk through, if you can go to the next slide, Lydia, and reconnect our being with the totality of life. And so if you look at the microcosm and those four aspects we just talked about, you can also observe that at the uppermost parts of the microcosm is where we have recorded the past lives or the past memories of the personalities that have lived in this microcosm. And also what we are making of our life today is also recorded there, meaning our actions and reactions are also recorded. And sometimes you would hear the word of a lipika. So that is that region. And so the gift we are given today is to be able to use all of these to be able to connect to the totality of life, to the wholesomeness of life. And that is what, dear friends, we'll be talking today. And Omar will help us clarify some aspects as well of this heritage that we have.
Thank you so much, Wuji. In one of our past presentations years ago about this topic, we commented that one of the ways in which seekers of truth connected reincarnation with the universal teaching was through the analysis of being born and dying on endless occasions, the mortal and immortal in the human being are shown. Showing the mortal in the birth and death, and immortal in the very continuity of birth and death, being that continuity a great part of and possibility of evolution. So this is a way that many seekers, when they touch study or start knowing the aspect of reincarnation, connect this topic with the universal teachings. What it contrasts so strongly and significantly with the teaching of the spiritual school of the Golden Rosy Cross. And what the Golden Rosy Cross suggests is the fact that it is not we as a person with those four aspects that Wuchi very well expressed who reincarnate. And there are a reason for this. And it is not because everything that has to do with the person and is manifested in the flesh, the same way how it develops and grows progressively during life after we are born, likewise, it will dissolve when we die. So that is the reason why we are not who reincarnate. And what we mean with this is, as you can see in this graphic, when the human being is born, these four aspects that were expressed previously start developing with a separation of a few years in between, let's put 7 or so, more or less estimated. The human and biological body start getting a little stronger in the baby, crawl, walk, then run, get a little strong. And then after that, the inner body, the vitality of the organ, start getting strength, let's say for 7 more years or so. And after that, around being a teenager, the astral body, which is the energies accumulated through our emotions, feelings, sentiments, start getting stronger and developing in the human being. That's why we see our teenagers with a lot of emotions, and we adults said, oh, let's understand the teenager because it is a teenager, it's reacting like this. The real reason, according to the spiritual school of the Golden Rosy Cross, is that the astral body is developing. A few years later, when the human being becomes an adult, around that moment, the mental capacity, it will develop. And then the person continue living, and the cells commence at some point to not regenerate with the same speed, the same strength, and the human being at some point eventually die. And even after dying, the other aspects, after death, the aspect of the astral body and the mental body, it will dissolve as well. So it is not us as a person, the one who reincarnates. What it reincarnates is the microcosmic being, which is what is immortal, according to the spiritual school. And yes, the sources of the lived experience are stored in the aforementioned microcosmic being, who we already said is really who reincarnate, not in the person that animate flesh in the microcosmic being, because we completely vanishes. And this part is important to understand what we are presenting today. As for the evolutionary aspect of reincarnation, seen from the seeker's point of view, which we do not deny as a possibility, that the accumulated experiences not only serve as experience gain for the positive course of social evolution, but also accumulate depths through thoughts, feelings, and actions. And these depths can be to a specific being, family, people, country, and all humanity and the planet as well. The spiritual school sees reincarnation as a possibility, a gift given to the microcosmic being, so that one day it is possible that one of the manifestations in the flesh can perceive, desire, and carry out the conscious integration of its whole being and can break through the cycle of death. which is there is a possibility through the source in the center to break through the cycle of death. This cycle of death, we call it karma. Milos?
You're muted, Milos.
Talking about karma, we often mention that we live in this nature order that is like a workshop or school where we are gaining our experiences. As you already saw, we are a very complex system, and our personality is living only once. But it does reflect and is influenced by the all previous lives records. And all those previous records, Lydia, if you can show a slide.
Yeah.
Let us imagine that this nature order for a moment is like a big theater. And it's not hard to imagine that if you just look around. And we are one of the main actors, our personality. And as Wuji mentioned, all the records that are recorded in this Lipika is like a script. Those are the previous lives filled with emotions, thoughts, attachments that wait for their realization. And we are in the middle of the battlefield where all those streams or thoughts of emotions are coming to us, looking to be played by us in this theater. If we want to proceed on the spiritual path, as Lydia mentioned it, we need to know ourselves. We need to know our true selves. And we need to pay attention to our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and see where are they coming from. Because we are once in a specific mood or we are changing our behavior, it's almost that we are like a puppet on the strings, and all those records, all those energies that are recorded are almost, because they are records from the previous lives, they're almost like a multiple different eyes that form our ego. And on this picture, we see also something that looks like higher ego, that could be good and could be bad. And it depends which one we are feeding. But our goal is actually not to play all these roles, all these scripts. Our role is to reconcile, to neutralize all of that and to neutralize those, so to speak, voices in order to hear that voice of the silence of our true self. And that's what we are trying today in our conversation to try to highlight. First of all, as we mentioned, first to understand our current position and then to see what else we can do to proceed on the path. And with that, I will now open floor for the questions or comments.